What up, Fit Gang? It's your girl, NaFit, and I'm back again with another tutorial video. Today, I want to talk about your caloric intake, caloric deficit, and your caloric surplus. Most common question that I get is, can I shred my abs and build my booty at the same time? I want to explain to you how your caloric intake affects your workout and affects your gains and affects the shredding process and why you can't do them at the same time. Let's get it. Okay, I see that the board is really bright, so after I write things down, I'll show you the board. So number one, in order to put on muscle, you have to be in a caloric surplus. Your body needs the extra calories for your muscles to grow. So you have to be in a caloric surplus to grow. But in order to lose body fat, you have to be in a caloric deficit so that you can burn the body fat and so that you can shred up and see the muscles that are underneath that pesky layer of fat. So that's the main reason why you can't shred your abs and grow your booty at the same time. They're opposites, okay? So to burn fat, there is 3,500 calories and 1 pound of fat. So in order to lose 1 pound of fat, you have to burn 3,500 calories. All right, first thing is first. In order to lose weight, you need to be in a caloric deficit. So let's say that in order to maintain my current weight, I need to consume 2,000 calories a day. So we're gonna have a little chart here. It's ugly, it's 2,000 calories a day. But I'm consuming 2,500 calories a day instead. This puts me in a 500 calorie surplus. So at this point, I'm not maintaining my weight, I'm not losing weight, but I'm gaining weight because I'm in a surplus of 500 calories over the amount of calories I need just to maintain my weight with the level of activity I do and everything I do on a daily basis, breathing, sleeping, functioning, everything. I am consuming 500 calories more than I need to be. So where are these calories going to go? They're not just going to float up in the air. You're not going to conveniently just poop them all out or anything like that. Those calories are going to store in your body as fats. Now let's say this is your entire week. You're consistently in a 500 calorie surplus for an entire week. 500 times 7, 3,500. That means you've gained 1 pound of fat. This is pure fat. That week. That's a lot. Over time, if you continue this trend, you're going to continue to gain weight, gain weight, gain weight. That's why it's so important to understand your caloric maintenance level and understand if you want to be in a caloric deficit or a caloric surplus in order to reach your goals. Now, the same goes on the opposite end of the spectrum. If your goal is to put on muscle, gain a booty, and get some curves, you're going to have to be in a caloric surplus. Now let's just say this. In order to be, let's say my caloric surplus is 2,000 calories. But every day I'm only consuming 1,500 calories. Y'all like my little chart? It's mad ugly. I can't draw at all. But every day, I'm only consuming 1,500 calories. This puts me in a caloric deficit of 500 calories a day. So instead of putting on gains like I intended to, I'm actually losing weight. This is gonna make me lose 1 to 2 pounds of body fat per week. And that is no bueno. So you have to make sure that you truly understand what your caloric intake should be and what your goal is. A lot of people ask questions like, well, why don't influencers or trainers share their diets or their routines and things like that on their pages? Why don't we ever see that? Can you share that? But the problem is that everyone's body is different. Everybody's at a different starting level. Everybody has different goals. And everybody needs a different caloric intake in order to make it work. So I could tell you what to eat all day long, but if you're eating too much of it or too little of it, it really doesn't matter. That's why a lot of people don't give out that information. The best thing that you can do is find a trainer that you like, either your personal trainer or your online trainer, and ask them. The first thing you should ask them is, hey, do you mind calculating or helping me figure out how to calculate my caloric intake, what my caloric intake should be, and then this is my goal. Could you tell me what my caloric deficit should be or my caloric surplus, depending on your goal? Those are important questions that you should ask your personal trainer or online trainer. So another concern that I get from a lot of clients or some of my Instagram followers is, okay, so I want to look a certain way, but every time I start losing weight so that I can get abs, I lose my booty. Or every time I try to put on weight to get a booty, my tummy gets bigger. So what should I do? Should I bulk first and then cut? Or should I cut and then bulk? I totally understand how that can be confusing because it's definitely based on the individual. If you are one of those people who are smaller, then you should definitely go ahead and bulk first, put on some muscle, go into a caloric surplus first, put on some muscle. You're going to put on a little bit of fat as in the process of putting on muscle, so don't worry about that. That's normal. After you put on the muscle, you put on a little bit of fat, then you're going to turn around and go through the cutting phase so that you can burn off that body fat and be left with nice, lean, toned muscles. Now, for the client who is on the bigger side, that can be kind of confusing because they don't know at what point they should start bulking and cutting. They're like, should I bulk first, then cut, or should I cut down to my body fat percentage, then start building some muscle, and then turn around and go through a cutting phase? So I understand the confusion. In my opinion, for men, you should start your bulking phase at 9 to 12% body fat. If you're over this body fat percentage, I would focus on fat loss first. I would go on a nice lean diet, focus on cutting some fat down first, and then start your bulking process. For women, the bulking process should start between 20 and 24% body fat. If you're over this percentage of body fat, it's best practice to go ahead and focus on a caloric deficit, lean out a bit more before you start trying to put on muscle, because you stand a chance of gaining more muscle and less fat if you do it at these body fat percentages. Then if you are already heavy and have a high body fat percentage, the likelihood of your bulk going well and your bulk really putting on more muscle mass than fat is not so good. So these are my recommendations for your bulking process. Okay guys, recap time. So what did we learn today? We learned that there are 3,500 calories and 1 pound of fats. We also learned that in order to put on gains, you need to be in a caloric surplus. Surplus equals gains. In order to lose body fat, you need to be in a caloric deficit. Body fat. All right, these are very, very important. We also learned that these two things can't be done at the same time. That's not how that works. That's not how any of this works. Now, when you get, after you've gone through your bulking phase and you put on your muscle, which is what I did back in 2015 when I first started training, things like that. 2015, 2016, I spent all that time bulking up, putting on muscle so that I could compete to go pro. I am a professional bodybuilder, for those who don't know. And then, before each of my competitions, of course, I cut and got as lean as possible. I got down to 4% body fat for my shows. So, bulking phase, cutting phase, bulking phase, cutting phase, throughout the whole time, depending on how many competitions I had. But you finally get to a point where you bulk up to your goal. You finally get all the muscle that you desire, like, hey, this is where I like my body, I'm here now. And that's when you get to the point when you're in a maintenance phase. And once you're in a maintenance phase, you're able to, have that balance of, being in a surplus. And then if you feel like you're gaining a little bit too much weight, then, cutting back on your on your calories a little bit, then you're in an easier maintenance level. So now that I'm in a maintenance phase of my training, I'm able to maintain abs and a booty because I've already built everything. I'm no longer in that, okay, I gotta get it, okay, I gotta lose it phase. Once you're out of these phases, then you're in the maintenance phase, which is where you see most of your favorite people on Instagram or in the magazines and stuff that you like. You're like, well, how come she has abs and a big booty? Why can't I do the same thing? But that's because they're way past all of this already. They've done all the hard work. Now they're just maintaining. It's easy. It's nuts in now. But you have to get there first. You have to go through the hard work. And it's not an overnight process. It takes a year or 2, 5 years for some people, especially if you don't have the genetics, especially to build glute muscles, if it just doesn't run in your family, if it's just not something that's easy for you to do. I mean, it could take you 5 years to really put on a nice booty, and it all depends on your genetic background and how hard you work and how hard you stick to your diet and everything like that. If you don't do that, then you're gonna have this seesaw up and down, phases. Okay, what else did we learn? We learned that if you're ready for your bulking phase for men, you should start at 9 to 12% body fat. This is not like super lean, but it's not like you're not overweight or anything like that. This is a fairly athletic body fat percentage for a man. Once you get to this body fat percentage, you go ahead and start your bulking phase. If that's your goal, is to put on some muscle. For women, your bulking phase should start between 20 and 24% body fat. Of course, if your body fat percentage is lower than that and you desire to put on more muscle, go for it, that's fine. But if you're over this body fat percentage, you run the likelihood of putting on more fat than lean muscle mass, because more likely because of your eating habits and just because where your body is. And then if you're doing it right, you could be putting on lean muscle mass, but do you really want to grow and bulk up a whole lot of muscle underneath a lot of fat? That's just going to make you look bulkier, and I don't think that's the goal either. The goal is to put on muscle and put on lean muscle, lower your body fat percentage so that your skin is sitting right on top of those muscles, so you're looking lean and trim, not bulky. You know what I mean? So this is my suggestion right here. Boom. My handwriting's super ugly. Yeah, that's good, right? Yeah, I did good. I'm impressed. So anyways, I love you guys. I thank you for training and tuning into the fitness university, where I'm always going to take y'all to school. Okay? Yes, sir. Love you guys. Follow my YouTube. Follow my Instagram. YouTube is NateFit. Instagram at I am NateFit. Holla.